I think that one of the most underrated pickups was Jakob Poeltl.
Reacquiring Jakob Poeltl from the Spurs.
I call players like that a championship piece.
Jakob, so you spent, of course, the first 2 years of your career here in Toronto with the Raptors. What do you think that you took from that time?
I learned a lot. It was my first introduction into the NBA. Kind of had to grow into my role. I think there was a little bit of expectation on me when I first got here. But then once we did get going, it was a really fun time. I had great teammates at the time, and it was a really good start to my career.
Talk about the business side of basketball, of course, and that being the tough part of moving on to another organization. You went to the Spurs. How did you process that trade at the time?
It was tough. I kind of thought my future was going to be in Toronto, and then all of a sudden you get hit with a trade like that. It wasn't easy to kind of mentally understand it and really work through it, but I made the best of it, and San Antonio ended up being a great place for me.
Well, and making the best of possibly one of the greatest coaches in Greg Popovich, what did you learn under him?
Yeah, so much.
Yeah.
That was, my time in San Antonio was even more of just like an opportunity for me to prove myself, for me to learn new things, learn from great players and great coaches, like you mentioned, Pop, but I also had some really good big men veterans. I played with Pau Gasol, played with LaMarcus Aldridge, like those guys. A lot of opportunities to learn, and I'm really grateful for my time in San Antonio.
Many expected the Raptors to be one of the busiest teams at the deadline.
I think for Toronto, I mean, their lone move might be Jakob Poeltl.
The addition of Jakob. He's a known quantity. You know what you're going to get.
And then you fast forward 4 years. A lot of teams were interested in acquiring you, and suddenly you're back in TO. What was that experience like? It must have felt very full circle for you.
Yeah, it did in a way. It was a little weird, just the way it all went down with me playing one last game for San Antonio in Toronto and then immediately getting traded here afterwards. But I was happy to be back. I was happy to see a bunch of familiar faces still around the team. Obviously, a lot of things changed as well, but there was still those guys on the team that I knew how to play with from way back when. So yeah, I was happy to be back in the Six.
The Raptors have re-signed center Jakob Poeltl to a 4-year, $80 million contract.
What went into your choice to re-signing with the Raptors?
It was a couple of different things. For me, coming back to Toronto, like I wouldn't say I had my mind set on it, but I knew Toronto was going to be my #1 option for the offseason. And then the negotiations with the Raptors went smoothly, so there was never really anything that was against Toronto. And I knew I liked the city, I know I liked the fans, so it was an easy decision at the end of the day.
Masai called you a championship piece. What would it mean to you to bring another championship to this city?
I mean, obviously it'd be amazing. I pride myself in playing that style of basketball, just helping out wherever I can, doing the little things that it takes to win basketball games. I try to not focus on my own performance too much. I try to just do whatever helps the team win. So hopefully we can string something together. I know it's going to take some time, like we're going to need some time to develop. We still got a fairly young team, but hopefully we're on the right track.